Hey heroes, welcome in. We are your hosts for hire. I am Lucas Rand and this here's Kyle Cage. And today we are going to be talking about, actually, we were already having this conversation and then we thought, hey, what are we doing? Let's take it to the live.
Take it to
So
the people.
really what we're going to be talking about is the best and the worst live action adaptations of just stuff. Like what we've gotten to see over the last, like few decades here of content of live action specifically taken from an animated source, right? That's
Or
the
a comic book
right,
source.
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah. Um, it again, our opinions.
right.
This all based on
Do
opinion.
not
Let
come
us
at
know
us.
in the
Actually, better
comments.
yet, do come at us
Do
in the
come at us.
comments.
Yeah, let us know what your favorites and worst are and why. If we haven't seen them, we'll check them out. Shout you out in the next episode.
Yes.
Before we get into all of this, head over to Hosts4Hire podcast with the number 4 Hosts4Hire podcast on all socials. We're trying to hit that 10K on YouTube. Help push
Please,
us
please, please.
there. All right. Right off the bat, I'm curious. What would you consider like your favorite live action adaptation from a comic or animated source?
Of anything, man, that's hard, dude. That's so hard. Like my favorite of anything. Like it's
It can be even just like a character rather than like an entire movie or show or project. Like
yeah,
your
like the
favorite.
the first thing that comes up to me is Andrew's Spidey.
Naturally.
Like that was
Yep.
like my favorite adaptation of a character that I've seen on screen that I could at least that I can like summon right now, just like to my brain. Um,
Yeah, that's really good.
what's yours?
I
Let,
mean,
let, let me think a little
so
bit.
when I think about like my favorite like adaptations, I think about things like Watchmen. Up
Right,
until the end of
faithfulness.
Watchmen, it was a shot for shot recreation of it. But more importantly, why it's up there for me is because I had never read the graphic novel, and that movie made me read the graphic novel.
Right.
There's a couple of them like that. Like Kingsman was another one. I really loved the first Kingsman movie specifically. The second one I would put in the worst column. One of the worst live action adaptations, especially after reading the
yeah,
comics.
yeah.
But like the first, like I find those to be really good because of the fact that I didn't know that they were adaptations, and they got me to read the source material,
And
and
you
I
know what's
still
funny?
love
There's
them.
some of those where there's like the flip, the reverse. Whereas like Wanted,
Hmm.
where you like watch the movie and then you read the source material and you're like,
Like they took something really good and they made it really
what have you
bad.
done?
Why have you
So
done this?
that's actually really funny. But like, so you'd say Watchmen is probably your like favorite like
Probably
adaptation
my
from a
favorite
comic book.
adaptation.
See that's
It.
hard when it comes to like a lot of like comic movies. Like other than like
Mhm.
Watchmen is a really good example. But like when like we're thinking MCU or like the DC movies that have come out, they don't necessarily do like pulls like that. They're taking
All the
from like
different
all of these
storylines.
different
Yeah.
storylines because there's so freaking many to go through that if you're gonna like yeah it's odd. It's almost like you couldn't make a very good movie off of one singular like comic.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
what's interesting is like take Civil War for example. Civil
It's
War
very different
is
though in the
is
MCU.
very different than the storyline of Civil War, but there's a lot about it that's the same at its core. In my
Right.
opinion, that wouldn't I could see both arguments of that being considered a really bad adaptation of the storyline, but a really good adaptation where they did their own thing and it
Right.
worked really well and people loved it.
Well,
It
see, like
depends on
in
what your
those cases,
criteria for a best and worst, what your
because
criteria for what a good and bad adaptation is.
then like in that case, like one of my very favorite things that have been done, it was in the MCU, was Namor, his retelling
Mhm.
of the story of Namor, of what we knew it as what it was in the comics, and then like a reimagining when bringing it to the live action. That's like one that like mm, might be the best because
I
like
can't think of another one that shouldn't be how the comics are more.
yeah
Like the comics going forward should
should
follow
be
the
that.
MCU.
Yes, like it
Yeah.
like Namor going forward should be Mayan. from Telecon. Like that should be like shouldn't be Atlantis. Like all of that, like going forward, like in my opinion, if you're like a good writer and you're writing like Namor in, that's what you got to be using, man. Like it's
That's
just
what people want
unequivocally better.
now, and it makes sense. It's just it's why it's so
Another one
much
that
better
jumps to
'cause
my
it makes
mind
sense.
is like Star Lord. You know, like in the
Mhm,
comics, like before Chris Pratt's Star Lord, like he wasn't the goofy like dude. He was more of like a soldier. You know, more of the
mhm,
Ravager. You know, uh,
mhm.
but like this version is so good, and there's so much palpability when it comes to that version of his character that like going forward in the comics, I would also like to see more of like this like happier, goofier version of Star Lord. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Same with like
agree.
Thor. You know, like Thor in the comics is just this like rigid, just like one dimensional. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas like Chris Hemsworth brought a lot of different dimensions to that, which is can all be judged like very good comic adaptations, even though they're not faithful to the comics.
E
Because a
exactly.
faithful
Yeah.
Thor to the comics is just out there like, oh, find me
By the
hammer.
halls of
Yeah,
Asgard, like, he's
yeah.
just a
Very
weirdo.
boring, like pretty one dimensional character.
Yeah, but that's those are all great points. I really like that. Some of going along with some of the worst though, I would say that there's certain things that were done that were just bad choices. Like for instance, like everyone knows there's the classics Green Lantern,
Oof.
like the 2011 Green Lantern,
Ooh.
Avatar,
Oh
this
yeah.
live action Avatar, just
Well,
not
the
good, pretty
Netflix version so
widely.
far hasn't been awful. I'm waiting to see its full completion
Mhm.
before I make a full judgment. But like the
But
movie,
the M. Night
yeah,
Shyamalan, yeah,
the movie.
that the
S-
2009 or
You
whatever,
know, when I
yeah,
was
that
making,
one.
when thinking of my list, right, and we were like making this list for this episode. In my mind, what I had was me and my dad used to watch movies together like all the time, right?
Mhm.
And like I've only walked out. I think of like two movies, and only like very few have I left the theater disappointed. I'm usually a person that like in the moment, like with like the theater juice, I enjoyed it. Like even if
Even
it
The
was
Flash.
shit. Yeah,
Even The
like
Flash,
a
I
good
enjoyed
example
it.
of that is Spider-Man 3. I have it in
Mhm.
one of my worst columns. Like God, it's a terrible adaptation of one of my favorite characters, which is Venom. So like I just
Yeah.
hate it. But like in the moment that day when I was in theaters, I liked it. You know what I mean? Just because like of that. So there's very few movies that I have left the theater not enjoying. One of them being recent Wonder Woman 88.4.
Oh, that was awful.
Maxwell Lord, that like version. Like well, while we're talking about like the Namor version being like the best version of this character should go on forever, this version of Maxwell Lord should like it's such a minor
Never,
character, and you should never do that again. Like just
never.
like
Also, misusing one of the greatest actors with Ewan McGregor, just horribly misusing
well,
such a fantastic
actually,
actor.
your brain is switched there. Ewan McGregor was in another worst one. He was
Oh, you're
Silenus. He was
right.
Black Mask.
He was Black
Uh,
Mask.
in
Yeah,
Maxwell Lord was Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. Still
Again,
another good actor,
dropping.
horribly
How could
underutilized.
you drop that ball? Like,
And so it's understandable why my brain got those flipped up because they're
yeah,
both awful
great. Yeah. Oh
adaptations.
yeah, and great actors in awful
Yeah,
adaptations. Which goes to say, all of these adaptations that we're talking about has nothing to do with like the people involved, right? Like it does
no.
have to do with the people involved, but it doesn't. You know, because
Yeah.
like
For
it's
the
not
most
fair
part,
to
it's
say
not
that
not one specific aspect of it. It's a comic accumulation of
right.
bullshit.
Uh, like a good example of that is I don't think that like Ryan Reynolds was the worst Hal Jordan. Like if you're just doing like how he looks and like comic to like screen thing, like look pretty good. But like
Mhm.
God, it was so bad. Like, but it was so bad. You know, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, dude. You know, but like
Yeah.
as Science, he just like that. Actually, dude, that's a great point. Birds of Prey is on my list here as one of the worst live action adaptations because of my personal hype for it. I was so
Mhm.
excited for this movie. One, it had Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, which is just like a 10. Bang. Like, love that character. Love that version of that character. And then we were going to see Ramona Flowers as Huntress. And dude, I was so stoked. She has like 2 minutes of screen time, bro. It is
Unbelievable.
infuriating to me. I was in the theaters. That's one in the theaters where I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like I was so excited for this. Obi-Wan Kenobi? as
Come
Black
on.
Mask? What are you doing to me?
And then it just wasn't.
And then it just wasn't. Yeah.
But what's interesting too is there's when I was thinking about this list, I thought of one that's technically on both Sonic. Sonic, in my opinion, is one of the best live action adaptations.
Of some, I am
Pre-correction
100%
Sonic,
there.
we could have gotten one of the worst. Very easily could have gotten one of the worst.
Dude, can you imagine a reality? There's a in the multiverse out there, right? If that is to believe, there's a reality where that's their Sonic that got
A lot
released.
of realities, probably.
Oh man, dude,
It was almost ours.
dude. I often think that we are the darkest timeline, but there are timelines darker even.
There are timelines where Sonic is horrifying and gives children nightmares.
Imagine how Shadow would have looked like. He would have
Oh
just been
God,
like
no.
a gremlin.
Yeah, just
Yeah, for real. We really could have gotten Dookie water, but instead we
yeah,
got like a golden statue.
yeah, it's true. A
All
couple
three of
quick,
their movies are bangers too, and I can't believe that they came out in such short succession of each other. They've come out like
considering
all
how
within
good they
5 years, considering how like and they're really cheesy and they're really corny, but like the
are.
Sonic aspect of it, like, is always good as fuck. It's
Yeah, the
always super
CGI
good.
and
Yeah.
animation was amazing.
I'm almost like no excuses over here, motherfuckers. You guys better be
Left,
putting out
I don't know
fucking.
if I don't know if you've seen Sonic 3 since it recently came out on Amazon, but I haven't. Dylan said he watched it and he was like his personal opinion, Keanu Reeves' voice acting didn't hit as well upon
The second
rewatch.
time, interesting.
So it makes me
I'll have
interesting.
to
We'll have to
rewatch that.
rewatch it, yeah, and
You
talk
talking
about
bad
it.
about my baby Keanu?
About Keanu.
Speaking of though, we do got a little shit talking to talk about Keanu because on one of the
Yeah,
worst adaptations here is Constantine,
yeah.
and
We were recently talking
albeit
about
again
Constantine
good
2
movie,
being.
good movie. The Keanu Reeves Constantine movie, like my dad loved that movie, so I used to watch it as a kid all the time. Good movie, terrible Constantine,
I
terrible
didn't
Constantine.
know much about Constantine when
Same,
I was a kid watching it, so for me that was just kind of Constantine. Then Matt Ryan became Constantine, and I
yeah.
was like, oh,
Yep, and then I like got
this
to
is how
like
it should
know
have always been.
Constantine a little bit, and then and then like slowly over time, Constantine has become one of my favorite characters. Matt
Hmm.
Ryan's Constantine. It's impossible to me to want to do a Constantine movie and not want him to do it. Does that make sense? Like
Doesn't make
I
it doesn't
can't
make sense
think
to
of
hire
another
anyone
human
else.
being to play this character. Like he's done it for years. Like there's no one with the experience plus the look plus the like chops to do it. Like
He's
there's no one
proved
that
time
like
and time again that
equals
every
as good of a
iteration.
choice as Matt Ryan. Like
Agreed.
uh
Animated, live action, doesn't matter. He's
that
killed
being
it every
said,
single
I
time.
am excited for Constantine 2 and I really hope, beyond hope, that they like go that they either just take it fully to just John Wick Constantine where it's like again it's not even the character, like fuck it, or that they just like really went and like are gonna pull off some like cool magic and like it's gonna
Hmm.
be a little more devoted to like the actual character of Constantine this time around rather
Yeah.
than the cross shaped guns. Yeah, I mean, which like
Weird.
dope, love that.
Yeah.
But like, what do we do?
That's not
I don't
Constantine,
know if
guys.
Constantine has pulled out a cross shaped gun one time.
Ever. I don't even fighting
Correct us if
vampires.
we're
He
wrong.
probably.
But
Yeah, yeah. Let
tell
us
us the
know. Put
comic that Constantine's busting out cross gats.
the gats of the Lord. All right.
The holy righteousness comes quickly.
They'll tear a hole through you.
All right. Now, back to some good stuff. We were
Yeah.
talking a lot of bad. For me, I think I'm going to end it at there's two for me that really stick out. One extremely recently, and you guys might disagree with me, but Sam Wilson's becoming of Captain America in the MCU and the comics. I don't. I'm not like 100% sure about like how it happens exactly in the comics, but I know that the way they did it in the MCU was fucking beautiful. Like if you
Mhm.
can't if like I can't find that like the disagreement there. because
Yeah,
like
specifically in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the way they show
the
that
arc of
burden and
Sam
how
is so
yeah, like how much it means to him and how much
yes,
it burdens him at the same
yes,
time. So good.
it
It's just like you
is
said, beautifully done.
beautiful. Um, and then after that, Loki.
Mm.
Uh, to me, is the number
Season
one
2,
MCU project. Like, if you were to ask me to like grade like all MCU projects, Loki would be at the very, very top, number one for me
yeah.
personally. Um, it's just a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like,
It's truly one of the like you said, it is
not,
arguably
and
one
what's
of the
funny
best
is,
things, if not the
but
best.
also the character of Loki, because Tom Hiddleston did kind of what we were talking about with like Chris Pratt and Star Lord and Namor. His version of Loki is incredible. Like
And it's the way it should be going forward.
that beautiful struggle of his is just like so enjoyable to watch, and like the way it culminates in Loki, and especially in season 2, bro.
Mhm.
Bah.
Incredible.
Yeah, I think that might
You
actually.
know,
When you ask me what's my favorite adaptation and everything, it might be Loki. Might be the God of Stories Loki that they did in Loki season 2. Like
mhm.
the way they wove that into so good.
Really well done.
Yeah.
One that started out really strong for me, but kind of fell off recently is The Boys. The first
Mm.
season of The Boys I thought was really, really well done,
Yeah,
and
that's one I
then
don't have any experience with. I haven't seen it
yeah,
at
and then
all.
seasons 2 and 3, like it's still a good show, but as far as an adaptation goes, it's kind of meh now.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah, you
brought up
read the comics
Watchmen
and watch it a
earlier.
lot. I
Yeah.
haven't done either for the boys, so that's actually really interesting. So, like, would you say what's more entertaining, the like show or
Mm,
the comic?
the comics, in my opinion,
In
the comics.
even in an
Yeah.
entertainment value.
Yeah, like,
Wow,
I
that's interesting.
enjoyed reading the comics, like, I tore through the comics, like, I tore
Interesting.
through, real quickly, whereas the show I'm actually behind on, so
Right? Maybe
that
I'll
in
have to
and of
get.
itself
I'll,
says
yeah, maybe
enough,
I'll have
you
to.
know?
I'll have to go into the
I am
comics and
excited
read
for the
them.
new season, and I really do love Eric Kripke, Supernatural. I'm a Supernatural nerd, and the creator of
Yeah,
Supernatural
you're gonna
is
get both of
like,
them. Well, like
well,
I think like
actually,
Jared is playing a character, and
Misha Collins is playing a character.
Soldier Boy is coming back. They're like, "Do you want to watch Supernatural? Come watch the
Uh,
boys."
yeah. So, but in any case, that one is up there for me. But one that I really, really want to see more of and can't wait to see finish is Netflix's The Sandman.
Oh yeah,
Unfortunately, with all of the controversy surrounding the author of said
yeah,
Sandman, we'll see if we get more. But
yeah.
that is
I
one of
hate when
my
that shit
favorite
happens, man.
comics.
Because
It's one
yeah,
of my
that shit is
favorite
good, man.
adaptations as well. There's a whole episode that's just it's in my opinion one of the best episodes of television ever made.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
know
just I
exactly
don't
the
know.
one you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
There's just so many parts of it, and so now that I'm thinking about it, Watchmen was always like up there for me. The Sandman could very well take it if it finishes strong.
yeah, that yeah, yeah. All right, now those are our tops, right? Now, what's your very bottom? Like
My
worst.
very very bottom is Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh damn, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
that is the bottom.
especially
Bro,
because especially
like
as a
all
huge Dragon
animes,
Ball and
to
Dragon
be
Ball Z.
honest.
Yeah,
Like, there's been no good. Like, I don't know why we're still trying. Like, we did Dragon Ball Evolution. We should have stopped. We should have been like,
That's-
whoa, full stop. We're so sorry. We'll never do it again.
I
This
haven't
is how
seen
we
it.
should have
I
treated
haven't
them.
seen it, but I've heard good things about One Piece.
Oh yeah, me too. Actually, that's
I've
true.
heard a lot of good things.
Uh-huh.
There is a live action, Japanese made live action adaptation of Attack on Titan that is pretty low budget, but considering it's actually dope. It's
I'll say this
really
too.
dope.
Considering that they're all terrible, I've watched them a vast majority, and there's a Roni Kenshin one, which, by the way, Roni Kenshin top tier, and like it's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
I
at the
mean,
very least, there's some Batosai manslayer. Let me tell you, dude, he Batosai manslayers those motherfuckers, and
that's
it's pretty
exactly
enjoyable.
with the Attack on Titan, there's some Levi stuff. So
Yeah,
that's why it's cool.
yeah. Stop making them, but keep making them. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Just please do it well. But
I think
I
my
think that
very bottom though, because like remember I was telling you I haven't walked out of theaters and stuff, like not like it's just something I don't do. Me and
mhm.
my dad both. Ghost Rider 2 with Nick
Ooh,
Cage.
yeah.
I remember like my dad was like, "We're going," and I was like, "Okay." Like I'm
I that's so that one's so bad. I pushed it from my mind.
dude, like I remember being a child and not being mad or disappointed at having to leave the theater. I was just like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah no, this feels right."
Yeah, I want to say I walked out of Green Lantern as well.
I finished Green Lantern, dude. I finished Green Lantern. I went all the way through, dude. I finished
I
Spider-Man
can't.
3, like I said, I think the superhero movie. Because me and my dad also walked out of Jason Statham's movie. It's called like Crash or something.
Oh,
Uh,
Crank.
Crank. That yeah, we went
Crank.
to that dude. Walk right
Crank.
out of that
Okay,
shit.
Crank's a great movie to watch when you're on Crank.
And you can quote me.
Put that in the hat. That's
But
not a
yeah,
saying. I
those are
don't
the
know.
two movies I have in memory walking out of theaters of. It's Ghost Rider 2 and Jason Statham's Crank. So I think Ghost Rider 2 will have to be the bottom of mine. But yeah, dude, it's very hard to beat Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Evolution.
I
That's like
mean,
the worst. Like,
that feels like a universally accepted worst
yeah,
adaptation. You know, like
that
worse
was
than
like the
Avatar.
Sonic like design. Like they put it out, we were like, no. And they're like, okay.
Bad studios.
They're
But like
like, okay.
I would say like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the
That one
live
too,
action
man.
movie is I would say it's
That
five
broke me.
times better than Dragon Ball Evolution.
And that's
Yeah,
hard. And that's
and that's
hard.
hard to do.
And that's hard, dude. Because that, yeah, man. Well, you guys, tell us what you agree with. Tell us what you disagree with. What are your own personal best and worst adaptations from comic books, from animated stuff? Not, you know what? I'm just talking right now, and I just thought of one that I hope I never see, but I also like low key hope I see. Steven Universe. Mm.
Ugh.
Don't ever
It'd
let
be
them taint that
impossible.
show.
Yeah,
Don't
it'd be
ever let them
impossible
taint
to
that.
do it right. You
But
know,
God, would doing it right just you know what it have to do? It just have to be the cast. It'd have to be the cast. It'd
but
have to be
they
Zach
can't.
Callahan.
It just
And
can't just
like,
be the
you know
cast.
what I
That's
mean?
the
Like,
problem.
wow.
They're too old and like not.
I got wrapped around. I was, you guys, if you enjoy this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe. We're just going to go into the reverse. That is exactly right. We are Host4Hire. That is Host4 with the number 4 Hire podcast.
We appreciate you guys for stopping by and sticking through all of our goofy ass shenanigans.
Yes, thank you. And if you enjoy it, share it with your friends. Like we said, we're trying to get to that elusive 10K. So please, please, please help us get there. And we will see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks.